Hello, hello, hello. Hello. It works.
No, no, no.
No? What do you mean? You must. Thank you. I'm gonna read.
So, welcome to Jozi.JS. Here's the password. Can I do this? Okay. Hi, guys. Please come closer. We're ready to start. We're a little bit behind. Can we close down the bar a little bit? Please come closer. Please don't be shy. I'm not going to ask questions. Just if we could fill up the seats, please. All right, let's get started. How is everyone? Is it because of the match? Because I feel like, you know, yeah, we could sing a national anthem or something. Or she wants to sing a national anthem. All right, this is the Wi-Fi password. Oh, firstly, welcome to Jozi.JS. Um, on a day of history. Um, this is the Wi-Fi password if you're trying to log into Wi-Fi. Just a code of conduct. Please be nice. There's a lot of shy people here, and considerate. Don't stand too long in the bar. Don't be rude. I'm assuming. Be respectable and constructive. Work together, um, and don't be spammy. All right. Oh, and also we'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, BBD. As Batanda would say, clock it for BBD. All right.
Right. We have two different types of talks here at Jozi.JS. We have a lightning talk, which is about 5 minutes. An opportunity to ask questions after that for about 2 minutes. And we have a longer talk, which is around 15 to 30 minutes. I welcome you to scan and come and submit a talk, obviously. So we are always very welcome to talks. So please do that. And we're also online. So if you can't physically be here, catch us on YouTube. Um,
Um, who loves Java? Okay, quite a few people. As you all know, you get in South Africa specifically, there are different conferences, right? For the different technologies that we use. For example, there's .NET, and one of the technologies that is not so popular is Java. I don't know why. My brother is laughing here, but that's another problem. So what we're trying to do really is understand what's happening in the Java ecosystem. Who are the people that are working there? What do they do? And what we're trying to do is really create something like a conference where we can actually come together and discuss Java. So if you could just take 30 seconds of your time to just fill in the survey, um, we really appreciate it. And Mihlali, introduction. Sam. Sorry? You don't care about speaker notes? No. You just want to shoot the whole thing? I want to shoot the whole thing. Come in. Let's share screen. Share screen.
Okay, so our first speaker is Mikhali. So it's going to be a lightning talk. How many of you know what a lightning talk is? So it's a 5-minute talk, 30 seconds before. So we'll be timing him. You guys can clap once so he can know. And we're going to give 2 minutes to answer your questions. So just a little bit about Mikhali. He's an aspiring software developer with a background in Python, HTML, CSS, API security, and Linux. He began his journey by learning JavaScript. And his GitHub profile is a lot of his projects that he's built and completed. He has a full stack development certificate from FNB App Academy, and his talk is titled Modeling in API. Sorry. Oh, sorry, that was his past. So I'll let him tell you about his talk.
It's endpoint analysis, everybody. So I'll be discussing what it is, how attackers break in, and how defenders catch them in real time. Thank you.
So I'll start timing him.
Okay. Can everyone see this?
Just come here. this icon here. Yeah, that's your full screen.
Hi, everyone. My name is. Can everyone hear me first of all? Okay, perfect. My name is Phalo-Mihlali Mbangcolo, and today I'll be discussing what endpoint analysis is, and hopefully you guys can learn from this and get a few tips on how to protect yourselves. So every device is a target, and the power of endpoint analysis. So everybody, I just want you guys to imagine a scenario quickly. Software security attacks really begin with loud alarms. What actually happens is that attackers only need one weak point in order to be able to infiltrate your device and hack you and do all sorts of crazy things to you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to discuss what an endpoint actually is. An endpoint is a device that is connected to a network. It could be your cell phone, your laptop, your computer, a server, or anything that's able to connect to the Wi-Fi. That endpoint is an entry point into systems, and that's how attackers can get in. Now, most software security attacks actually begin at the endpoint. After you've been compromised, what typically happens is sometimes you'll get an email or an SMS or any type of message that's usually malicious. And what will happen is when you click on that link and you open up that website or you open up that link, what you find is now that your device has been compromised and the attacker has full network risk to be able to attack you and cause harm to you or to your system. And one weak device can collapse the entire system. Now, I just want to quickly discuss what an API endpoint is and what a security endpoint is. So a security endpoint is an endpoint that is a device that can connect to the network. But an API endpoint is a simple URL that applications use to send each other information. So there's different API endpoints over here. As you can see, post, get, and delete. The post API endpoint means to create something. Get API endpoint, that means to get information from somewhere, and delete means to remove it completely. So over here, I've got the API endpoints over here, and what this basically means is that we are trying to get the number of likes from a particular picture that was posted onto social media. Now, what would happen is you would input this onto your system, and what the API endpoint does is get this information for you. So personal real life example that really happened to someone close to me was my mother. She had a security breach and her bank account was compromised. I just want to ask, does anyone here work at APSA, first of all? Because APSA is the culprit in all of this. So she was breached and her money was actually stolen from her. And this is an example of a cyber attack because what had happened was somebody used her card to pay for Uber Eats and, money was stolen from her. This happened in the middle of the night. So she didn't approve this and she didn't also pay for the Uber Eats. So she called her bank, and what the bank told her was that it was actually her fault. Now, what had happened was, whenever you do online shopping, you have the option to save your card onto the website when you buy from it. So what this security guy at the bank told her was that since she shops online so much, what had actually happened was attackers were able to pinpoint and get her information, extract that, and able to buy and use her card to make purchases, even though she's actually never actually saved her card onto the system. And that's actually really dangerous because, we all do online shopping and everything is digital nowadays. And we actually need security engineers in place and they need to be hired in banks and in the corporate world to be able to stop these type of attacks from happening. So what is endpoint analysis in real time? So the big picture I want to paint over here is that endpoint analysis, this is something that security engineers do. And what they do is that they monitor the device activity in real time. They will detect unusual behavior, they'll investigate logs, and they'll identify malicious processes. So these are people that are hired to do all of the stuff. And the end goal is to protect everybody and to make sure that any compromise doesn't happen to you. Now, in action, what they actually do is, as I said before, they monitor the device behavior, they check network connections from the device, and they review the security system and the logs. And what they do is they compare activity against normal behavior. So if you get any malicious links or anything that seems weird or unusual on your system, what would happen is that the cybersecurity engineer will pinpoint that, actually prevent it from happening. So what they actually look for is I think I just repeated this, I apologize. But what actually happens when a threat is found? So what would happen is that the analysts would isolate the device, they'd investigate the log activity and the history, they'd remove malware and prevent reinfection. So all of these things are done and these measures are put in place to ensure that this doesn't actually happen again. So this endpoint analysis specifically is very critical for ransomware defense. And this is essential for modern cybersecurity teams. And what actually happens is the more visibility there is, the more security there is there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Mario? No. Okay, thank you guys so much. Oh, yes, sir.
Did the bank say exactly how your mother got compromised?
Oh no, they told her that her card information was actually stolen from her because she had made a purchase online and she didn't save her card. So she said the attacker or the hacker was able to retrieve that information, and that's how they were able to make the purchase. So what's currently happening is there is an investigation that's going on at the moment. So they're going to try and find out exactly what happened, and so hopefully she can get her money back. This is like crazy. So the important thing is you guys really need to like protect yourselves out there and make sure you don't save your information onto the system or do anything that will compromise it. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else?
Questions?
All
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Thank you. What I want to say is that a lot of people are like oblivious to this cybersecurity space, right? Yeah, the safety online isn't marketed as much as safety to us human beings. You know, I punch you in the face right now. You know? But what I'm trying to say is, that, what can we do to get this awareness out there?
So what I like about that question is, especially I'm assuming all of us here are developers. The thing with developers is that they don't actually take into account cybersecurity aspect of the program that they build. So a big thing I would say is you really got to know your system from inside out, and you also got to study the API endpoint security from there, just to protect yourself and to make sure it doesn't happen to you or to anyone else again. Because what you need is just one big device to be compromised, and then all hell breaks loose. Thank you guys so much.
A round of applause, guys, for Mihlali. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Please feel free to submit
Rudy,
a longer talk next time. Sorry.
do you have time for one more question?
Sorry.
Do you
No,
have
we
time?
don't have time for another
Okay.
question. Sorry.
Sorry, bro.
Please have an. He's going to be around. Please grab him and ask questions. Sorry. Thank you. All right. The next speaker is Lisedi. He's going to talk about how to get good at lit code. Where's that gentleman? Please come to the front. Thank you. Lisedi is his name, and he works at BBD. He's a software engineer and enjoys solving lit code questions in his spare time and builds stuff, I guess. So please give him a round of applause.
Check ATC.
Yeah, it was busy.
And it was a day, but hotspot you. Okay. From your phone. It's gonna die. For this. So
I thought I was cool. I opened my slide.
oh shit. So it was like the offline side. That's you. Yeah. You're gonna share your whole screen, right? Yeah. Oh, this is Taj. Yeah. Probably wanna keep your camera on. That's something really cool. Oh, God. But you mentioned your mic and the volume must be on. The volume must be on. So keep the camera on. Turn this one. Yeah, turn the setting. Should I keep forgetting the dashboard? Enter. Yeah. Alright. Okay. I'll put you on the screen. Ready? How do I share? Yeah. Just share screen. Share the whole screen. That's share. Get it right. Okay. Share. Share. Okay.
Uh, Evening, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Cool. Good evening, guys. My name is Lisedi, and I work at FBD. Who here, by a show of hands, knows what leak code is? Cool. So I am a huge fanatic of leak code, and to date, I have solved about 500 lead coding questions, right? And I'm gonna share my experience and how to lead code, basically. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what lead code is, essentially this is what lead code looks like. On your right hand side, we have the problem description, and on the left hand side, we have your text editor, and that's where you write your code to solve the problem description, and then you can just hit submit on the bottom left corner of the screen. It's that green button. So we have uh, platforms which are very much similar to LeetCode. So these are just a few options. There's HackerRank, CodeWars, CodeChef, TopCoder, CodeSignal. There's many, many more which are not here. And the question is, why should you choose LeetCode, right? And the answer is, it depends. So each of these platforms has something different that they offer. I find that if you're looking for a gamified experience, then you go for something like Code Wars. If you're looking for design patterns, basics, that kind of thing, then you look for HackerRank. And if you are into like the hardcore data structures and algorithms, then LeetCode is what you look at, right? So how to get good at LeetCode, right? These are just a few pointers, right, that we should look at when you are getting good at LeetCode. So how do you practice? What you should look out for? How many problems to solve per day, per week, per month? And the common pitfalls that people go into. right? So I find that in your lead code journey, it goes into different stages, right? So you have a stage 1 where you have your 50 and below questions, and then a stage 2 where you have like a 150 and below, and stage 3 basically all the way up to however many questions you want to solve. So stage 1, these are the main topics that you should be that you should look at. So we have arrays, linked lists, hash maps, trees, sorting algorithms, and binary search, right? And these are examples of easy questions. So you have reversing a string, checking if a list contains a duplicate, and inverting a binary string, right? So these are so these are the easy questions. And stage 2. So in stage 2, we have a look at these concepts. You have your DFS, BFS, sliding window, and backtracking. Right. So in this particular stage, what do we need to look out for? So the amount of time you spend on a question is important, right? It doesn't really help if you spend 3 hours on a question and you don't understand what is going on. You should look for help. Ask for help, go on YouTube, search, you know. And I recommend spending about less than an hour on a question. Shouldn't exceed that. The amount of questions that you solve per day, right? So when I was an intern here at BBD, we would get like tests, and I wanted to be so prepared for the test that I would end up solving a question a day. But in reality, we are busy with stuff, and it's not really realistic, right? What I would recommend is one per week, you know, read the question, try to understand. Um, Even though you don't answer the question, just have a look. You know, that's what's important. Cool. And the order in which you solve questions, right? So it is important that when you're solving questions, you focus on the easy stuff first, right? To build a solid foundation, build understanding, and then move on to the medium and hard questions. Normally what happens is that people do people people do skip to the medium questions, and then they get discouraged. Lead code is too hard. Who can relate? You know, I know I can. Yeah. No, lead code is too difficult, right? And another thing that I should have added here is community, right? Ask your friends, you know, talk, message people, communicate, so on and so forth. So another thing is questions are numbered on lead code, right? So this is a lead code specific thing, not so much on HackerRank, but questions are numbered on lead code. As you can see, we have a red box surrounding the title of the question and an arrow that points to the red box, right? I was trying my best with paint and whatnot. The title of the question is best time to buy and sell stocks, right? It doesn't make sense for you to come to best time to buy and sell a stock 3 when you haven't done the second one or the first one, right? It's best that you do it in order. As you can see here, I solved the easy one, the medium one, and then, yeah. So it's important, guys, that questions are done in order. Stage 3. So now we start looking at much more complex data structures and algorithms. So we have tries, union find, extra, backtracking again, and dynamic programming. And these are particularly tricky. I know people struggle a lot with dynamic programming, which I do myself. Any show of hands? I know I do. So what you need to look out for, right, when you're solving questions or when you're doing lead code, right? What I find important, what I've noticed is that questions fall into buckets, right? So what does that mean? It means each all the questions essentially have topics that they fall into, right? So when you are opening up the code and reading up a question, you should be able to tell at some point in your career that, oh, this is a arrays problem, or I'm supposed to be using dynamic programming for this. I'm supposed to be binary searching this, right? It really helps. Um, that's one of the exercises I do. Sometimes I get it wrong, sometimes right, but it really does help to try to figure out what tool should be used um, for that particular question, right? And the second point is review your questions, right? What I meant to say here is review the questions that you have already solved, right? Particularly the hard ones and medium ones. So normally, when you're solving medium questions, right, there is a trick or a thing that you should know that if you don't know, you won't be able to solve the question, right? It's, the idea behind the question itself, right? And don't memorize the question itself, but memorize the idea, right? Because ideas can be reused on different questions, okay? And memorizing the question itself, you can't use that on another question, right? So try to go back, revise, look at those questions that you've already solved, and try to memorize the idea behind the question, okay? So after learning how to solve and do all of this, is it worth it? Is it worth your time? The normal question, the questions that I normally get is, how about there's AI? Do I really need to know how to do data structures and algorithms if there's AI? And my question to you would be, will you be able to have a meaningful conversation with the AI if you don't understand what a try is, right? If you don't understand what union find is, if you don't understand what uh, difference array is, right? It is important that you stick to basics because the basics always change, always stay the same, right? Another thing that I find is if you're into the low level stuff, right? Uh, take a crack at it. Have a look at what's going on under the hood, what algorithms they are using. I know that if you're into building engines, for example, SQL, they use a lot of min heaps and max heaps and priority queues. So it's good to understand what a priority queue is when you dot sort. You know what I mean? It really helps because you dive deeper into the into the into the into the into the thing that you're working on. Yeah. Sorry for that. And sometimes it really doesn't help, right? So especially if you're on application level, most of us are focused on building things that are shippable to our clients. In that case, you're not really focused on your data structures and algorithms. What you're really looking at is what API can I use to do authentication, or what API can I use to sort my stuff or filter, whatever. And at that point in time, you don't really need to understand your data structures and algorithms. But one thing that I have found is that a lot of people don't understand the difference between sort and sorted, right? Um, you sort your stuff using the same memory, so in place, and sorted is creating a new a new object with a different memory address, right? Or it might be the other way around. Not jokes. It's that way. um, so it's stuff like that that really help with performance in your application. Uh, if your customer is using that application on a really good device, then it really doesn't matter. But unfortunately, not all of us have good devices, right? Cool. Questions? Oh, I forgot to include something on my slides. Let me quickly open that up. So this is my profile on LeetCode. I encourage people to please join me. Let's solve. Let's do LeetCode. I enjoy doing this. As you can see, like I haven't done much, you know, in the month of June. I apologize, but yeah, like I'm on LinkedIn, message me, and yeah. Questions? Yeah. Mike.
Okay. Okay. So I get that by LeetCode, it's basically a way to like.
Can you talk into the mic?
So I get that with LeetCode, right? It's a way to keep your mind basically get yourself up and coding on a regular basis. The same thing that you did with your presentation last with Git, right? It's a way to like keep yourself up coding basically and not slack. Besides LeetCode and Git, what else would you recommend for a person to not slack when it comes to coding with the whole AI and all that?
You said besides LeetCode, what else can I look at?
And Git.
And what?
So my question is, besides the movements of LeetCode, Git, and basically those, what other methods would you recommend for a person who basically struggles to code? Okay. Besides like LeetCode, Git, and any other methods, what else would you recommend for a person who's like trying to keep the momentum up instead of being lazy and basically you're referring to AI for what you do?
Oh, so besides LeetCode, what other methods can we use to keep ourselves sharp? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I found a platform called Code Crafters. Although it's like it's a paid for thing, but then they do give out like a free project per month. Um, you can build some tools that you already use on your day to day. So one of the projects that I worked on was uh, building Git, right? So building my own version of Git, and from that project, I was able to. They basically teach you like a small they teach you like a small section of Git, the building blocks, and then from there you can incorporate all the other things that you know about Git. So I was able to build like a Git commit, right? Branching off. What else? Oh, some plumbing commands that allow you to interact with the file system itself, the Git file system itself. Yeah. And then there are other projects like building a shell from scratch and so on and so forth. So there's plenty of stuff that you maybe there's a thing that you're into, you can do that as well. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Oh,
Thanks for the talk, Lisedi. I have one. Wow, what's wrong with that sign? Oh, okay. So I had the pleasure of being required. I won't say forced because it sounds like I didn't enjoy the whole thing, but being required to do a lot of lead code exercises for an interview that required them. And essentially, it went well. Did enjoy learning a lot about graphs, binary tree. Based on the stages you've mentioned, I'd say I'm on level 2 now, learning to master those specifically graphs and the depth first and breadth first algorithms. There was an incident in the past where the creator of Homebrew, which I think is like an installer on Linux or similar to APT and stuff like that, applied for a position at Google, and they asked him on the interview to reverse a binary tree on a whiteboard, and he couldn't do it, and they were like, "You're not qualified." Does this really indicate what someone can deliver in a real project? Like, for example, I work with Spring a lot, and I don't, like, for real, have not used an array list, which is something you use a lot in these interviews, or any of these fancy data structures. You use what Spring usually gives you. The only valid data structure I've used is the linked concurrent links, concurrent queue or something. It's basically a queue. There's different types of them. But does really make you qualified for the job better? Does it reflect what you can do on the job, or you know?
I actually have a funny story. Nah? There was this lady who was a competitive programmer. She applied at Apple and got the job, but she doesn't actually know how to build apps, right? So the reality is, it's not that he can't reverse the linked list, right? I'm sure he can somewhere at the back of his head. He just hasn't done it in a while. I'd imagine someone who is building like low-level tools at some point in their life have interacted with that kind of those kind of like algorithms. If you are building tools that are like low level, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can't do what needs to be done to get your work done, right? That being said, you still need to prepare yourself for interviews, right? These kind of questions don't test if you can do the work itself. They test if you are able to think, right? There are cases whereby people don't even like answer the questions, but they still get the job. But because of the process of getting to the answer is what they are looking for. Are you willing, to try? Are you getting there? Are you, you know? So, yeah.
My question is, so from your experience, I see like out of close to 4,000 questions, like you've solved around maybe 12 to 15%.
Yeah.
So my question is around, do you need to be completely prepared of the topic before you get into lead code, or you start from somewhere and then you start solving it, and then again you go back to the particular subject area, and then you revise, and again you go back there. So what is the best approach so that for a person who's going to start from the beginning?
So in my experience, right, normally I read a question and I'm like, I have no idea what to do here, right? So surely that must mean that there is a topic that I don't know or that I don't fully understand how to implement, right? Going into the questions without knowing anything is completely fine. But what's not fine is you leaving it at that. I don't know the question, and that's it. So normally, what I do is I open YouTube and see how the question gets solved. So normally, with YouTubers, nah, they they solve the question while they talk to themselves because they have another screen open on the side with the actual solution, right? And a script. And they sound very, very smart while they're solving the question, right? And if you listen carefully to what they say, they actually talk about the data structures and algorithms that they use. And then you use that to do a bit of research for yourself and have a look at what is this algorithm, what is this and that. And I find that with the harder questions, um, you will probably have to go and learn the thing from scratch and then do an easy question to apply the concept, and then come back to the hard question and then try to do the thing, right? Normally, I just answer the easy question and then call it a day. I really don't go back to answering the hard question. But I can sort of kind of like see how it fits in to to answering the harder questions, right? And then years later, then I go back and I answer the question. So you don't have to be prepared. You don't have to know anything, as long as you are willing to do the research. And yeah, I saw a hand somewhere here.
Right, where's the hand?
Oh,
There's a
Hi. I have to speak about something about LLMs or AI.
yeah.
So I just want to find out, as you're doing these questions and answering lead code, how have you leveraged them to direct you or to, not to answer the question, but to approach the question in different ways or to see the multiple ways which you can answer that question so that you can expand your knowledge base?
So when I began my journey of code questions, I was super anti AI. Yeah, I was that guy. If you can't do it yourself, you're not the person. You're not the person you think you are, right? And yeah, I must say, um, that's not true, right? Because recently I learned about segmented trees, right? So basically, solving array ranges, right, in constant time instead of looping through the whole array, right? And that's something that I wouldn't have learned how to do if I did not speak to AI, right? Um, Talking to AI, right, allows you to speed up the process of learning because you don't have to go and look for the information yourself. The information is there. You can just tell AI, scrape for me the browser and I'll go read the article myself, right? The article gives you examples, how it works in real life, and that's how you basically use AI, right? Lead code does have an AI thing. I don't know if any of you have used AI, but there's a thing on the side. Yeah. And when you click on it, there's a chat thing that opens up. And yeah, you can ask it questions based on whatever question you're solving. And it won't give you the answer. Like in the beginning when it was still new, it would give you the answer, but now it doesn't give you the answer anymore because I think they put some rules there, which is actually pretty helpful. Um, yeah. So I think using AI is actually important, especially how you use it. If you use it responsibly, because it does speed up your learning. And yeah, so don't be that guy that says if you can't do it yourself, you're not a real programmer. That's not true. AI is here. It's, might as well learn how to use it properly, right? Yeah.
All right, folks, please give this lady a round of applause. If you did not catch any of our links to submit talks, you can get it on Meetup. Please submit talks and then come and speak. And then we are at the end of the thing. Meetup. Please get some pizza. Thank you so much.